Let me take you back to April 28, 1988, just after 1 p.m. in Hawaii. A local flight, Aloha Airlines 243, was ready to take off. It was a short, regular journey from Hilo to Honolulu, just 35 minutes in total. Hilo is one of the southern islands of Hawaii, and Honolulu is the capital. Most passengers on board were tourists, ready to enjoy a sunny day in paradise. Aloha Airlines mostly connects Hawaii's islands. This specific aircraft had already made 8 flights that day. It was busy, but nothing unusual for such a route. As passengers boarded and settled in, the plane took off around 1:25 p.m. Everything looked normal. But one passenger noticed something odd, a small crack near one of the metal panels on the fuselage. She didn't report it, assuming maintenance had already checked it. After all, this was a trusted airline. Just 20 minutes after takeoff, the plane had reached 24,000 feet, its cruising altitude. Suddenly, there was a loud boom. A huge section of the roof, about 35 square meters, blew off. The cabin depressurized instantly. Air rushed out, and chaos followed. Passengers could see the open sky above. The walls and ceiling were gone. People struggled to breathe. Wind was blasting in at 500 kilometers per hour, and the temperature outside was around minus 45 degrees Celsius. Normally, in such emergencies, oxygen masks drop for passengers. But here, that system was damaged. Some passengers started feeling dizzy and faint. Without oxygen, unconsciousness can occur in under 2 minutes at such high altitudes. 3 flight attendants were on board. Michelle Honda, who was near the middle of the plane, tried to contact the cockpit, but got no response. One of her colleagues, C.B. Lansing, was near row 5 when the roof blew off. She was sucked out of the plane instantly. Sadly, she didn't survive. Another crew member, Jane Sato, was thrown to the floor and knocked out by flying luggage. But there was some good news. Both Captain Robert Schornsteimer and First Officer Mimi Tompkins were alive. And more importantly, their oxygen masks were working. They had been hit by the blast, but stayed calm. They quickly decided to begin an emergency descenting the aircraft from 24,000 feet to a lower altitude where breathing was possible. This helped many passengers avoid hypoxia, a dangerous condition caused by lack of oxygen. However, there was another issue. The cockpit had tilted downward slightly. Only the floor was keeping the front and rear sections of the plane together. If that broke, the plane would tear in two. Mimi contacted air traffic control. Instead of continuing to Honolulu, they were directed to land at Maui, which was closer. But even at 10,000 feet, they faced another obstacle, a mountain known as the Haliak-Elbe Summit. The pilots had to carefully navigate around it. They slowed the aircraft to 170 knots, just fast enough to keep flying without stalling. As they got closer to the airport, another problem popped up. The nose landing gear wasn't deploying. Rear wheels were fine, but the front gear didn't show any confirmation light. This meant they might have to do a belly landing, which is dangerous especially for a plane already torn apart. If the nose of the plane hit the ground hard, it could cause the fuel tanks to burst, leading to a fire or explosion.
This airplane, in the condition it was in, was that he didn't have a nose gear, because when the nose touched down on the runway, it would have broken the airplane apart, therefore breaking probably the fuel tanks apart, which could lead to a very dramatic fire and explosion.
They had no choice but to prepare for the worst. Rescue teams were ready on the runway, and just before the final approach, a ground crew member saw the nose gear had actually deployed. They informed the cockpit. Finally, at 1:58 p.m., about 14 minutes after the explosion, the plane landed safely in Maui. Passengers evacuated through emergency slides. They were grateful to be alive. One 84-year-old passenger had a serious head injury. A few others near rows 4 to 7 were badly hurt, as the roof had blown off near their seats. But miraculously, out of 95 people on board, Only one life was lost, C.B. Lansing, the flight attendant who was thrown out. The Federal Aviation Administration identified that the aircraft was extremely old. It had completed over 89,000 flight cycles, much more than what Boeing had designed it for. The U.S. government and the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, investigated the case. They found three main issues. 1. Poor maintenance by Aloha Airlines. 2. Weak oversight by aviation authorities. 3. An aging aircraft still in use past its recommended lifespan. This tragedy led to major reforms in aviation safety. In 1991, the FAA launched the Aging Aircraft Safety Program, requiring older planes to be inspected more often. Because of this one terrifying incident, air travel today is much safer.